Should I smile? Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tanner.
No, just like blank expression,
'Cause
monotone. I don't like the fucking what was that decade of YouTube where like everybody's like jump cutting all over the fucking screen because they
Oh.
have to like cut out every and ah.
This is gonna be long. I am
Fucking-
definitely gonna try cut out parts though where it's just like, obviously we're stuttering or some shit, but
I never stutter, Tanner. Yeah, and I just
there it is.
I hope you've been recording this whole time.
I have.
I want it all. The whole thing needs to
I
go.
have 16 minutes of bullshit right now.
Yeah, like let's just like that's our intro. Like just start.
Hey everyone, welcome to Power Word Talk, where chances are we're gonna talk. My name is Tanner, and this is my co-host Casey. Today we're talking about fighter secondary archetypes and giving our early impressions and expectations of each secondary archetype. Now, one thing to note is we're not going off of any released information because there's little to none, and let's be honest, it's likely to change. So that being said, let's get into the news.
It's a very enchanting intro. Thank you, Tanner.
Thank you. I'm just gonna leave it. I think one take is all we need. I'll be honest with you.
Like, don't even cut it. Just keep going. Like, don't even cut this part out.
I don't have to. Okay, so yeah, the one thing I really wanted to explain though, before we start talking about all the secondary archetypes, is how they work. You basically, in Ashes of Creation, from what we know, you get the primary archetype, and then at around level 25, you get a chance to get a secondary archetype. This secondary archetype does not add any new skills. It only augments and evolves the original skills that were there. So the example that's given is if you're a fighter and you have a charge, and then you choose the secondary archetype of a mage, then it'll turn it into a blink. So it's a faster travel time, and they even have a directional blink if you choose to upgrade the spell in that way. So if you're pressing S on the keyboard, it'll blink you backwards instead of just where you're looking at. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're talking about. How are you feeling today, Casey?
I'm pretty good. What's up?
That's good. That's good. Oh boy.
As you're talking about, that's like one of your biggest pet peeves, like when people just like answer with like a one-word answer. It's like,
oh dude, I hate it. There's
like,
nothing I hate more.
Damn,
well,
dude,
it's like when you're going out of your way to like be concerned about somebody and to give a bit of effort to be like, hey, like, are you all good? I'm good.
I'm good.
Thanks,
Sometimes
man. Like,
it, man. Like,
but just have a normal conversation. Like, oh, I'm good. Just finished doing groceries. Or, I don't know.
Or, I don't want to tell you about my day. It was a doozy.
Maybe I'm too.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd rather just withhold information.
Maybe I'm too intrusive. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's get into the news. I'm gonna share my screen here, and then we could talk about some archetypes, secondary archetypes.
Maybe you can get me into the noose.
You know what I'm talking about, brother. So let's swap this guy over, and everything should be working. So the first one we are going to talk about is the fighter, which is the weapon master.
Oh wow.
All right. So I've assembled many key characters that I feel like fit the description of a weapon master, a dreadnought, a shadowblade, a hunter, a spellsword, etc. To give an example of how we think it will be and what we think it'll play like. So in my mind, a fighter, a weapon master is literally just a jack of all trades for every weapon that there is.
Yeah, it sounds like Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, interesting. That's exactly who we have picked, actually.
Ooh. Look at that boy.
Yeah. So I mean, what, you can use bows, you can use shields, you can use swords, you can use staffs. I don't know what other weapons. I think there's pole arms in this game. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it, or they haven't released everything. It's all bound to change anyway.
But yeah, like when I think of a weapon master, I expect like somebody that is very versatile with all different types of weaponry. So I think Link suits that pretty well.
I mean, yeah, I think he has a boomerang too. That'd be cool if they're in the game. I don't know if they actually are. I don't know what the gameplay will be like. I'd imagine they're just very close combat. Maybe some mid range, with a bow. I don't really know. It's hard. I think it'll be one of those classes that's very boring, but very solid. Just great all around. You can take damage, you can deal damage, you can help out your allies. I feel like just all around they'll do well. I don't see how you could go wrong with a fighter.
Yeah, like what kind of roles do you think? So like Ashes of Creation is going with like the Holy
The
Trinity
Holy
of
Trinity, yeah.
tank, DPS, and healer. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love it if you could heal people by stabbing them, but something tells me the Weapon Master is going to be purely DPS, unless
Probably maybe some self
unless
heals
fighter
of
has
some kind.
tanking potential. But
Yeah.
I think they differentiate between tank and fighter. That it kind of says to me that fighters aren't necessarily tanks unless they perhaps the Dreadnought is,
Um.
but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Which we can talk about him next too.
Yeah,
Because he is next up. I mean, yeah, fighter. It's hard to say with any of these things that we talk about, but
yeah,
yeah, I think it'll honestly be kind of one of the more boring classes that is just amazing. That is just like he's good in every scenario. He can be underwater fighting, he can be up high fighting, he can be right in the middle of it, he can be far back. I think he'll be great in all around scenarios.
yeah,
Um
no doubt.
yeah. So the Dreadnought now. This is a fighter tank, which
Yeah.
if anything we know about tanks, they're good at tanking.
Mhm.
I don't know what else more there is to say. I feel like it's pretty obvious. It's just a close range tank who has a lot of damage mitigation, probably.
Mhm.
I don't know if he has any like self heals, maybe some, but I would imagine a lot of it is just damage mitigation.
Yeah, like when I think of a Dreadnought and when I think of fighter and tank, I'm thinking of barbarians, right?
Very much so. And speaking of barbarians, we have one right here. So
Yeah.
this is the one that we feel it will be closest resembling will be the Dungeons and Dragons barbarian, where you're just kind of you're balls to the walls, you're doing so much damage, you're like crazy, and then you aggro all the enemies by just almost doing so much damage by just swinging your weapons like crazy.
Yeah. Probably looking to take on some of the pain, not
Yeah,
and and dish it out.
I imagine you would want heavier armor than the D&D barbarian. I imagine you would want heavy armor in this
Maybe
role, but
so how much do you know about the different armor types in Ashes of Creation? So is it the basic light, medium, heavy?
um I want to say yes, there might be more, but there's definitely those kind of classes.
Yeah.
Um, and I know that everyone can wear everything. Everyone can use every weapon. They can wear every armor. It's really how you
Okay.
build your character.
Yeah. Because I'm curious if there's like what perks are associated with each type of armor.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, like maybe if you're going like a DPS build, maybe heavy armor isn't the way to go.
Yeah.
Because sometimes um, your DPS builds, you probably in like medium or light, it really depends. I could see the fighter primary archetype in general being
Mm-hmm.
light or medium.
I feel like honestly, the Dreadnought will be amazing in PvP. I
I
just
think
thought
yeah,
of it because like you're gonna be doing damage, obviously, as a fighter, and
mhm.
then you're just gonna be tankier than most everyone else.
Yeah, you
So
think
you'll
there
just
would be
last
like
longer.
you think there would be some damage mitigation that comes with that for
Yeah,
sure.
I think so. I don't think they'll be very versatile or mobile.
Mhm.
Um, but I think they'll definitely be like pretty scary to fight, especially one on one. I bet.
Does the fighter primary archetype come with that ability where you can like charge? Because I remember you talking about how like if you
Um,
go fighter mage, for example, you can blink.
yeah, I want to say
So like,
yes, but I haven't looked into it because there's no like there might be on the wiki, but as far as I've seen, there's no like stat sheet that just lays it all out and for certain. Let alone just like this might be in there, this might not be. It's hard to say. I would imagine so though.
because like I don't know, just for fun, I could see the dreadnought instead of doing the charge, doing the leap, kind of like
Oh,
the Diablo
oh, you know what I thought of
barbarian.
too? Maybe they
What's
do
that?
charge, but they do a knockdown when they hit you, right? Like
Yeah,
they charge at
yeah,
you, and then or it's a stun or something along those lines.
yeah,
Some kind of crowd control.
yeah. When I think of dreadnought, I think like unstoppable berserker. So like
Yeah.
lots of damage, lots of crowd control, lots of just
Hmm.
taking it and dealing it.
Yeah. Not. I don't think there's a lot of running. I don't think there's a lot of um, mobility involved, other than trying to get on your target and stay on them, and just kill them till they're just keep attacking till they're dead.
Yeah,
Um.
probably.
Cool. So we can probably go to the rogue now. Now, I did have notes actually for all of this, which I probably could be looking at. But this one, I don't actually have any figure that I can think of for the Shadowblade. I cannot think of a fighter that is stealthy or very mobile because that's what I imagine they'll be like. So I couldn't find anyone in a movie or video game that kind of highlights this um, as well as I would like.
Yeah, like when I think Shadowblade, I just go back to like the Elder Scrolls series where I'm like 100 in one-handed weapons and 100 in stealth, and I just sneak around stabbing people.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that's 100% what it is. It's probably just like somebody that's really adept in fighting, but supplements it with a little bit of subtlety.
So I think that Shadowblade might be one of the best open world PvPers because I just imagine the mobility and versatility to get in and out of situations to be insane. You're not going to be
Mhm.
a pushover. You're going to be able to take damage. You're obviously going to be able to give damage. And then you're going to be able to get away before like three of the allies from the other team start to help him out.
Yeah. When I think of rogues, I'm expecting rogues to have an ability to stealth.
Some kind of camouflage.
I wonder if you take rogue as a secondary archetype, if that would give you stealth, or if that's only available to the primary.
Because I'm kind of thinking that like we've used the charge before, that it'll augment it to be like a shadow step, where you
Yeah.
essentially just teleport behind the person. And insert meme here of teleport. I don't remember it. But yeah, you shadow step. You shadow.
Teleports behind you. Nothing personal, kid.
Yeah, there you go. Amazing. But yeah, I imagine it's a shadow step, and then you would think there'd be some kind of stealth involved with that, but I don't know if they've actually even shown a stealth character yet in any of the pre-alpha footage.
Yeah, there's gotta be something. Or, well, I don't, it doesn't have to be something,
Yeah,
but it'd
because
be interesting.
I'm thinking if you're a fighter and you're a rogue, so you're a Shadowblade, um, you would probably use swords. Obviously, you can use whatever you want, but I'm thinking you're dual wielding single handed swords, right? And you like go in there, you can do like a blade storm or something, and then you can
Mhm.
like teleport away before, or just like, yeah, before backup comes. You can just escape. I just think the mobility will be insane.
Yeah, it's, I wonder if, like, I know there's some things like rogues have access to like limited amounts of like shadow magic. So I wonder if
Mm,
it's essentially just a fighter that augments their abilities with shadow magic.
hmm. Yeah, because I wish we knew what each primary class skills were, so we can maybe even so at least you know what they are, and then you can think of augmentations that are a little more specific
Yeah.
or catered towards the secondary archetype. But as far as I know, they haven't really given them out, and if they have, it's not. I mean, it'll change. It's not going to be the
Yeah.
same.
I think we've both taken a peek at the wiki, and
Hmm.
like there's some stuff that you can kind of look at, but it's so incomplete that I'd
It,
rather not
it,
even bring
yeah,
it
I
up.
feel like there's no point in even trying to say exactly what is what.
Yeah. So
Um,
future video.
but yeah, and if anybody can actually give us a good example of a shadow blade of a fighter rogue, that'd be great because I
Yeah.
couldn't really think of one, but I think they're gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Anything in popular culture or
Hmm.
subculture,
Just a good
anime, video
example,
games, whatever.
one
Yeah.
that'll help really get the point across. Um,
Hmm.
okay, so the next one is Hunter. This is a fighter ranger. Okay,
Hmm.
I have a great example at hand that I briefly told you about before we started, and that is Legolas.
Yeah.
Legolas, Lego Man. Okay, he is, I feel like, the quintessential hunter, where you're an all around a kind of, you're like a tracker. You obviously you're shooting people with a bow and arrow from really far, but at the same time, if somebody jumps you from behind, you're able to go toe to toe with them, no problem.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? I don't know if there's much more to be said about that. Maybe there's some stealth with a ranger, maybe some kind of camouflage where if you're standing still, you're invisible to the enemy. That might be
Yeah.
fun, but yeah.
Yeah, and it might be too much of a cop out, but obviously, like when you think hunter and you're a WoW player, you obviously think of the hunter class from WoW,
Hmm.
and there's plenty of hunters in WoW lore that you can look at there. But I think
Yeah.
Legolas is a good
I don't
example.
think they're going to be as long range though as say the Ranger, which is the Hawkeye. I think
Okay.
they'll still be long range, but I feel like Hawkeye, just the name says it, right? That's like you're sniping from across the whole battlefield.
Hmm.
Um, whereas Hunter, I feel like that's still long range, but at the same time, you have more. Well, see the issue maybe it's not even long range. I don't know, because if you're a fighter first, in my
Hmm.
mind, I immediately jump to more melee, but
Hmm.
they should also be good with bows. And if you're specializing more into the ranger, I don't know how that would work as far as melee goes.
You were saying that like any class and any class combination can use any weapon they want.
Correct. As far as I know.
So
As far as I
that's
know.
yeah, as far as we know, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's definitely like I could see a fighter that supplements his abilities with like nature magic
Hmm.
because I don't really see any like druid class that I
Yeah,
can really think of.
that's one thing that a lot of people are actually complaining about. Which
So
if anyone's gonna give it, right, it's a ranger for some kind
yeah,
of.
ranger is the closest you're gonna get to your source of your nature magic. So
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
I could see that. Maybe traps even. I mean, traps are like just a classic.
yeah,
I could see that happening very easily. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you'll just be. That's one of the ones where you'll really be. I feel like it might even be the best mix of a fighter, like, and a rogue and a ranger. Like you're kind of all three. You're mobile, but you're long range, but you're close range. Like you can still get into combat. You can get out of combat. I feel like they might even like. Yeah, they'll just be kind of. You might be a little more squishy. You might be able to not take quite as much damage, I'd imagine, as a ranger.
mhm,
But also, I guess it depends how you build it. It's really hard to say.
yeah. Hard to say, but kind of get
Yeah.
a decent impression of what it could be like. Just
Um.
like
So this next one is a personal favorite of mine, of many, honestly. This is the Spellsword. This is a fighter mixed with a mage, and the best thing I can think of that will be similar as far as a class is Thrall from World of Warcraft.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think
Plain
it's pretty. Uh, that's good. I'd hope. Um, yeah, so I think it'll pretty much just be a retribution paladin. You're going to enchant your weapons where they'll do some kind of elemental damage potentially. Where whether
Retribution
it's electric.
paladin.
What's that?
Retribution paladin.
Yeah. Oh, I jumped it. Oh,
Ah,
cut.
get your
Shing. Okay.
get your stuff straight.
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously,
So this is our great example. Um,
enhancement.
there we go. Yeah. Okay. Spell sword. Thrall. Yeah. Enchanting weapons with elemental powers. I think that's 100% what it will be.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
You're a
pretty easy.
mage. Like,
And that's kind of like what makes me think like thinking back on the ranger and rogue too. Like it's probably like something similar. Like their abilities are augmented by shadow magic for rogue or nature magic for the
yeah,
hunter.
right. And
Yeah,
as a
so
mage, you're typically fire, ice, lightning, and arcane, or maybe some. Usually, it's not dark magic. 'Cause that's more of a warlock's kind of area. Um, but those are usually the kind of the principles. And I can only imagine as a fighter, you're becoming a spell sword. Like you're putting spells into your sword. You're enchanting them to be more powerful.
better have a flaming sword or I'm gonna be
Oh man, like
mad.
honestly, I think spell sword would be a lot of fun. You're just a magical warrior. Who doesn't want to be that?
Yeah,
It just swings these like cool looking weapons potentially if they have effects around the weapon. But yeah, I think Thrall is just a great example. He's a powerful warrior that I mean, yeah, use a
yeah,
hammer, which I don't know if there's hammers in the game, but that would actually be awesome.
yeah. That'd be sweet. Yeah, like all throughout Warcraft 3, like I always considered Thrall like a warrior first,
Yeah,
but that just happened to because he's like in his this heavy armor with the cool big hammer. It's like
yeah,
when I was a kid, the first thing I thought of was he's a warrior, not really a shaman. But then World of
yeah,
Warcraft kind of taught me otherwise. But yeah,
yeah. Like I see him, I don't see him dropping totems as much as I do just like going head first into combat, swinging around his magical weapons and powers.
yeah,
So I think that one will be cool. You maybe even have a sword in one hand, casting lightning in the other type thing. That would be awesome.
yeah.
So this next one, which I don't know how it'll actually end up working, like how well it'll work. Uh, Bladecaller. So that is with the summoner. And my example for this, which some people may know, some may not, is Gilgamesh. I know Casey, you don't know who this is.
No.
From Fate Zero. basically, as you can see in the picture, he's having like he just has like thousands of swords being summoned behind him through portals, and they just launch at the enemy. I think it'll be something very similar, if not just having weapons floating around the fighter, fighting with them.
Yeah, it probably not gonna have like thousands of weapons
No,
firing at
that's just it
him,
in
but
the anime.
yeah,
But
like
yeah,
I could see, yeah, something along those lines, like an enchanted blade or two
yeah.
that pretty much
I think it
benefits
would
you.
just be so cool too, if because they're gonna have action combat too. So if you have all these like swords coming out of like a portal behind you and just flinging them at enemies with your action skills, I think that
Yeah.
would look so amazing. You see all these swords flying across the battlefield.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much more that needs to be said about that one. I mean, it's a Bladecaller. You summon swords to help fight with you, which
Yeah,
I think
like
is just awesome.
I'm reminded of the Death Knight ability from World of Warcraft where it's called like dancing rune weapon or something. You basically create a copy of your weapon, and any attack
Mm,
that you do, it copies it. I
yeah,
think that's how it worked at some point. I'm not sure
I.
exactly how it works mechanically these days, but
Mhm.
it's something along those lines. It's pretty cool. I could see like at the very least it's something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to see it. I think
Yeah.
it'll be a lot of fun. I don't know what kind of versatility you'll have. I don't see a lot of mobility in this class, other than what the fighter already gives you. I don't see it adding to that. I think it's just pure damage.
Probably, yeah. I wonder if it maybe extends the range of your attacks. Like maybe
Mm,
you don't even have to.
a more mid-range fighter,
Maybe, yeah.
right?
I'd have to.
I can see that. Where
I
even
could
if
imagine.
you probably have like swords circling around you, and if someone enters within 10 feet of you or whatever the range is,
Yeah.
and then they start doing damage to them, it could be something like that.
Yeah, it's hard to know if that'll be the fighter summoner or the summoner fighter
Oh,
that will be more like that, you know? But
yeah. Because
yeah,
like in my mind, they're kind of a proximity fighter, where as soon as someone enters within range of you, your weapons are going to start attacking them.
yeah.
But then also, like I said, I think there might be skill shots where you just start shooting weapons like swords at people, which I think would
Yeah.
be awesome.
Hmm.
So our next one is the Highsword. So this is a fighter cleric, and cleric is known to be a healer for Ashes of Creation. So I mean, this one is just it's not called paladin, but it's pretty much a paladin in my eyes.
Yeah.
You're a DPS paladin. Um,
Mhm.
similar to Retribution, but I don't think it's quite the same.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's probably something along those lines. Like you're enhancing your abilities with like holy energy or whatever.
oh yeah, because I messed up from before. This is the Retribution paladin. There we go.
There you
Now
go.
we got to him. I got confused. Yeah, that was Thrall from before. But yeah, I think this will 100% be a Retribution paladin. I'm just gonna
Hmm.
cut what I said about it in the first place into this part. So now it looks like
Okay,
I'm talking about him like we never messed up.
perfect.
Amazing. Um, But yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about it. I think it'll be a personal healer. I think you'll be able to heal, but mostly just yourself. Maybe some
Mm.
buffs to players around you. Um, I think you'll be able to heal more than other classes instead of necessarily damage mitigation. But you're just um a healing fighter. That's the only thing I can think of. That maybe it enchants your weapons a bit. You're smiting people with some kind of holy power, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think they'll be very short range fighters. I don't see them being mid range or long range. Maybe an
yeah,
ability here or there, but
yeah. I don't think there's much to add on to that on my side. It's yeah, it's hard to explain it as anything other than your typical retribution
yeah.
paladin.
And I just chose Uther. I don't know if he's actually a retribution paladin, but he looks cool. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
now we are on to the last one, the Bladedancer. I couldn't find an example for this one either.
Hmm.
Um, I it's going to be a fighter and bard. As far as I can remember, or as far as I looked into, there's never been a class that or a key figurehead that has been similar to this. So what I think it'll strongly be, because they have said that Bard will be giving buffs and support to your allies, potentially healing, but they are a proximity based class. So I can only imagine that they will add proximity based buffs and healing to your fighter.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
Maybe
they'll be passive
inspire
ability.
your
What's that?
inspire your allies with like cool acrobatics or something.
Yeah,
Like when I think Bladedancer, I think of like your typical acrobatic fighter. So
So I thought of the trainer to Arya in Game of Thrones, the water dancer or whatever he was called. I don't remember
oh
his
yeah,
name, right?
yeah,
I think of,
I
yeah,
remember
a
his name.
very dexterous fighter who
Yeah,
just kind of goes with the flow and you're dancing, and I feel like they would utilize a lot of dodge and evasion into their style. So instead of healing or instead of doing damage mitigation, you're just not taking the damage. You're increasing your evasion chance. And
mhm.
then whoever's fighting close to you will obviously either maybe get a slight heal, or they'll just hit a little stronger. They'll get some sort of buff, which I
Yeah,
think can be in large scale PvP could be like insanely broken.
yeah. Depending on the how this turns out, like your support classes really
Yeah,
do add a lot. Um, when I think of there's this one that I played a long time ago. It was like Fly for Fun. And I remember everybody wanted like their pocket like person that would buff them and heal them, and so like having that stuff is
yeah.
pretty crucial.
Well, and
And
in my mind, if
tuck-
you're a bard, oh sorry, continue.
and tucking that like into a secondary archetype is potentially really powerful
I
because
think it
now
could be
you,
insane.
yeah, I think that's really
If you
good. Same
don't
thing
have
with
a
the
limit on how who gets buffed, you could have like 50 people in your buff potentially if you're all packed together. That could be insane. Um,
but then again the enemy will have it too. So
well, so
I guess it depends on how
oh,
they
of course.
build up their
and
team. But
and
yeah,
obviously there'll be peels to pull enemies away, or just to break up groups. But at the same time, if you're just a bard and you're giving buffs, obviously the buffs and heals or whatever it will be, the support will be greater than the blade dancer. However, I feel like you just naturally have to be a little squishier. You're a little more long range. You're not in the thick of it fighting with everyone else doing damage, where I feel like you could have such a large impact. Just like even if you're a small 5-man team, you and a couple of friends, and you don't have someone that's the squishy guy that gets targeted immediately. So you have a guy that's in there helping kill with you while supporting everyone else. I think it'd be amazing.
yeah, I think the taking cleric or bard as your secondary is really good for somebody that wants to support the team but doesn't want to be dedicated to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping the supporting abilities are just kind of passively occur because you say that um, that the secondary archetype will like basically enhance and improve the ones that you
Yeah,
already
it'll
have. So
evolve it to be something greater than it was before,
well, that means you're
essentially.
going to be using those abilities anyway, but now they're potentially adding some kind of support flavor to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really cool.
And if you're a fighter, you're probably close range. Chances are, you could have a bow, but even then, enemies can always get on top of you, so you'll have to switch to a sword. Um, you don't have time to be healing other people or to be buffing them individually. You just don't. So I feel like it has to be some sort of passive proximity buff.
Yeah, I think so too.
Cool. I think that's all of them.
Yeah,
That is
that's
all of
all
them.
for the fighter base class.
Let me see what I have. I'm gonna pull us over to just. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here, and we'll pull us over here so we can talk normally. I'm gonna pull up my notepad. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you want to say or you want to talk about?
I just think it's funny how you have One Piece posters. But what do you like about that anime?
I like the manga.
Oh,
So
okay.
like as a kid, I loved the anime, and then I like marathon through all of it. Um, but then as you get caught up, you realize how slow it really is instead of just blowing through it. And you get a little older, you don't have as much time to just marathon through all that. And you're like, holy shit, this is god awful. Like I don't know how I watched like 1,000 episodes of it, or I don't know how many there actually are, but yeah,
Yeah, like I know people that have wanted me to watch it, maybe even including yourself. It's just like
probably.
I can't. It's
I
like it's
like
too
it.
daunting.
I like it from the nostalgia. Like when I've tried to
Yeah,
rewatch, but it's so long, it's so boring. Especially so it has its really good parts where I feel like the pacing is really well placed. But then it gets like as it goes later on, it kind of hits this point where it's like what is this? This is not the same as what it used to be. So I'm not too happy about that. The manga's good though.
good.
Yeah. So what do you like about books? Got some
What do I
books
like
behind
about
you. Yeah, you got some books behind you.
those? Are veterinary medicine study notes, as far as I
Nice.
know.
So how's that going with you?
It's not mine. I wouldn't dream of entering that program. I have
Yeah,
witnessed
not much
horrible
of an animal,
things.
man.
Oh, I love animals, but I'd rather not be the one to treat them.
Oh man, that would be heartbreaking. Like I'm sure you get kind of numb to it eventually, where it's just a job. But
Hmm.
I don't want to be numb to something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I haven't noticed uh any numbing from it, but yeah,
Mm,
it's you kind of get used to it, I guess.
it's like almost like a
Like
therapist, where like it can be so emotionally taxing. You have to be able to like turn it on and off.
that's the way to put it. Yeah, like it always affects you, but
Yeah.
you become disciplined enough that
Mm,
you can let it slide. So
cool. So welcome to Therapy 101 with
this
your
is
your boys, the philosophers,
this is the
Confucius,
part of the show where I completely derail the topic, and
and derail me. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
wow, that's
Um.
anyway.
So
Ashes
mm,
of creation. Wow.
yeah, that's it's a game.
Yeah, like I'm the type of person where I'm trying to temper my expectations. It's
Ooh.
obviously I've had my heart broken by MMOs before.
Yep.
So I'm happy to talk to you about it, but it's way too early to really tell you how excited I am, but there's a glimmer of hope inside of me,
You want me to know?
and
I can tell you why I'm excited, and I can tell you why you should be excited too. Okay.
tell me.
We're going back into philosophy 101 here. So in life, there is no endpoint. You know, there's the cheesy saying, the the journey is the important part. I can't remember the exact phrase off the top of my head,
I know
but
what you're saying.
yeah,
Hope
like
everybody else does.
there is no
It's
end destination. It's all about the journey. And
That's a good way to
with
put
MMOs, you just have to assume they'll never come out. They will never be a good game. They will be
it.
fucking like they'll look like Minecraft, right? You can only enjoy the ride and getting new information and the prospects of that game before it's tainted. Before you play the game and you realize, wow, this is terrible. You have to be in the moment and just go along with the ride, and you have to be ready to let go of the game, put it down, like take it in the backyard and just like put it out of its misery. But you enjoy the ride while it's there. You enjoy the new information. You enjoy the riveting prospects of what nodes can do and the open world PvP. Um, I think there's beauty in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly have enjoyed my time with other MMOs, but it's always the aftertaste once
Yeah.
you've kind of put it to bed and you're left with that empty feeling inside. It's like, oh,
Well, it
what
feels like
can
you're just biding your time, like you're just wasting your not wasting your time, but you're just filling your time.
luckily I don't like hinge my entire self-worth and happiness
Hmm,
on MMOs, but
that's a mistake.
definitely a good section of my heart where, it can only be filled by these types of entertainment.
That's the issue. Where with mine, it is kind of like you want to be brought back to your childhood, to your younger
Mhm.
days, but that's also the dangerous part, right? That's where nostalgia starts taking over and makes you think something is better than it really was. So you kind of have to pull yourself back down and ground you. But at the same time, I feel like there's no point in suppressing that. Like you still want that. At the end of the day, no matter how much you convince yourself, you still want that child like whimsy and wonder when you play a game again. Like I remember when I first played World of Warcraft, I didn't know how anything worked, and you like log in and you feel like you're actually in this open wide world where like you're this magical powerful character, even if you're not
Yeah.
powerful at first, right? Like you're really immersed in this world. And every game since then just it feels like a time filler. Like Guild Wars 2 was the closest I had to really being immersed, but at the same time, it has certain things about it where you're just like, eh. Like it just has that it doesn't have that thing that just like really grips you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the main thing for me is that it's okay if MMOs are like a chore, but it has to be able to like bring me into that world. Like it has to mean something to me.
Yeah.
I
I
found like a lot of me came from like the friendships I made in the game. Like I think I
yeah.
only stuck around in Warcraft. Like initially, it's because when I reached level 10, I made it to Darnassus, and there's a level 60 player who just wanted to be my friend for some reason. I
Yeah,
can't remember exactly, it's long ago. And then like I made like nearly a lifetime friendship out of that. It's like, okay, like this
those.
this is really cool.
Yeah, I remember something very similar. Not quite because I started playing in Wrath of the Lich King, but I logged in. I was very low level, probably around 10 or maybe even 20. No, I think it was lower than that. Yeah, so it's around 10. And then you're playing, and this guy just comes up to me, and he's like talking to me. He's being very friendly, and he trades me some like really good items, which, or at the time I thought they were really good, right? But they're good for leveling. And you're this is what it is. I don't know. You find people, you interact with them, and the most memorable parts of MMOs are the people and the interactions you have with them. I would say
I agree.
without a doubt, right? Like you're not there for NPC interactions. You're not there for like quests. You're not there for quest text, right? You're there for
So
to experience everything together with other people.
do you think the systems that are being proposed for Ashes of
Mm,
Creation will help
mm.
us help us get
Oh, 100% if they end up being the way that they have proposed,
there?
right? But
Yeah, I think so
that's
too.
always the issue, right? It's always following through on what they talk about. With every MMO, they but to be fair, everything that they have said so far that they are putting in that they will do, they have done so far. That is the
That's good.
one glimmering hope at the end of the tunnel that they're doing something right.
Yeah, right on.
Right? They're very open to explaining things. They're very open in communication, which is massive. Like if you're waiting for a game, they go silent on you for a year when they're supposed to come out in a year and a half. It feels very cold shouldered. It feels very you don't care about input. It feels something's off.
Yeah.
But these guys every month they do a developer live stream. They show you their progress. They're very open to they appear anyway very open to actually taking input from the community, and it's not they're not saying it's their game, it's the community's game. That's what it's meant to be. That's how it comes off to me,
Yeah.
which I think is nice. They need to get the combat down though. It can't just be a social game, right? Like you need to get the combat down. You need to feel good. You need to play very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's got to feel responsive and satisfying. I think that's
Yeah.
something that World of Warcraft does really well. Is that like
Almost like it connects you to your character. Yeah.
yeah, I want my character to feel like an extension of myself. Like I don't like the feeling when I press a button and then my character does like something that kind of removes the control from
Mm-hmm.
me while it does some kind of animation. Like
Yes.
there's depends on how they do it, but that's generally how I feel. Like there's some abilities in Guild Wars 2 where
Yeah.
you press a button and like your character starts playing for you. Like
Yeah.
the Great Sword Ranger, there's like your charge ability was kind of like that, and
Mm.
like I yeah, that just didn't feel right to me. There's certain abilities like that, but I
There's
know it's that's just a minor little thing that kind of
well,
irks me.
so that's like the number one thing you interact with in a game. It's it's the movement and
Hmm.
the combat. That's the number one system that you need to get it, right? Cuz Wildstar, I started playing that. I liked the aesthetic of it and everything, but something about the movement where every time I would run and then you would go right and then you would dash left, you would slide over to the right. So there's that delay when you want to run over to the left. I know that's a
I'm
part of the
surprised.
game, but I didn't like
I'm
it.
surprised people didn't like that. I actually thought I had no problem with
Oh,
that.
really? It felt too
It's fine.
slippery. It felt like everything I was walking on was like ice. I
Yeah,
did not like that feeling. Especially they added in parkour puzzles, jumping puzzles, and then you're just sliding everywhere. Like you can't just put your feet on the ground and grip it.
they probably need to increase the friction a little bit, but
Yeah,
I see what they're going for, and I thought it was okay
I get
because
it. It just ooh,
it feels like your character has. I think they were trying to make it feel like your character has weight.
has weight. Yeah,
So,
but at the same
but
time,
maybe they
yeah, it just came off as like running on ice because like or you start pressing it in one direction, you're kind of still sliding from the momentum of pressing another way. Like I get it, but I don't think that's necessarily um a good feature for really feeling like that's your character. At least maybe it will be. It's just how they did it. I didn't enjoy.
something I did like about WildStar is the skill shots. Like,
Yes,
I do like
yes.
that system. Is that something that Ashes of Creation is doing? I can't
So
remember getting them mixed up in my head, but I
to,
thought
they are, and to give the full answer is that it will be a tab target hybrid action combat system. So very similar to Guild Wars. Essentially, it'll be World of Warcraft mixed with a lot of skill shots, but they're gonna have it 75. These are the percentages, the ratios they've given us of for how you'll be able to choose your skills on your action bar. You have to have 75% of one system or the other, and 25% of the other. So 75% of them can all be action and skill based abilities, and then the other 25% have to be tab target based.
Can I do 50-50?
You can do that. That's just the most. Or you can have up to 75% tab target abilities and 25% action, or you can mix it, but like at most 75% of one type. You can't have 100%. Um, but yeah, as long as you have a minimum of 25% and a maximum of 75%, you can mix in between there.
I wonder
Yeah.
how that'll actually play out, and I
Um,
wonder kind of player behavior they're trying to, you know, I don't want to say railroad, but what are they trying to prevent?
So the
I don't know.
issue is, from what I've seen, I haven't experienced it personally. I think Summit talks about it a little bit too, but basically, a lot of people want action combat. They think that's the future, right? Where they're like action combat. That's all you need. But then maybe for PvP, yes. But when it comes to 40-man raids in PvE, you cannot action everybody heal an individual tank with action combat abilities. You need to tab target them, right? That's just
Yeah,
you need it for raiding and PvE. Even in
yeah,
PvP, it's great when you have a lot of people and you have your main tank. You want to heal him first if that's your role. So,
yeah. I know that technology is a lot better these days, but I remember reading that the reason why auto attacking was a thing in the past is because of how uh, crappy our internet was back in the day.
oh, as like
Like the
a
latency
time filler.
so high. Yeah, it basically like it's just it was basically like just in case like the latency is too high, at least your character's doing something.
That's good. That's good. I don't think there's an auto attack in this,
I
to my
would be
knowledge.
disappointed if it was,
Yeah,
or
right.
if there is, that's fine. But I don't think you need it anymore.
It feels archaic. It really does.
Yeah, I think if they don't have auto attacking, then I really want like nice control of my character. I want
Yeah,
I like when I press the one key, I want my button to just like execute. Like
responsive and fluid.
I don't want to wait for something to happen before I get the result. I want
Yeah,
to press the key and I want it to happen right
yeah,
now.
100%. Well, unless because there's systems always where like you have one ability going, you have to wait for the animation, but then some games you can cancel the animation of the other skill and you can progress with yours. I don't know how they're going to end up doing it, but World of Warcraft just has. I think it's almost unanimous across the board. Everybody of the vast majority of people will agree. World of Warcraft has it nailed for fluidity of combat and character feel. They just do.
Like the only thing that's holding you up is casting times, and
Yeah.
like that's like
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Got to be. I mean, there's gotta be some casting times.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of weird if there was.
They have some skill shots in the game too, but at the same time, it's like maybe a 10% thing, if that. But yeah, I suppose that's all we have time for today.
I wasn't on a time limit, but yeah.
We gotta act busy. Okay. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments or criticisms, leave them in the comments. We would greatly like to enjoy it. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Give us some ideas of the characters we missed, which were the Bladedancer and the Shadowblade. I could not find a good example for them. Maybe let us know what you think certain secondary archetypes will play like, or even primary. And then maybe we could talk about it in a different video. Maybe even we can make a prediction video eventually, see what comes true, what doesn't. That could be fun. See what the community thinks. And yeah, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about the tank primary archetype and its
Ooh,
subsequent secondary types in the next video, I hope.
I think that'll be a fun one. Like, how does a tank and bard work? That just sounds amazing. You're
Yeah,
buffing people while you're taking all the damage. That's amazing. But
I need to look up that in Argent.
yeah, it just sounds
It,
awesome.
oh, it's like it means silver, I think. That's
Hmm.
like when you get like real life definition of it is
Mm-hmm.
something to do with silver, I
Yeah.
think.
I don't
Um,
know. And how could you actually have like a bard is someone that plays instruments typically? They're a very
mhm.
musical class. I don't know how you would incorporate that with a tank and how it would thematically make sense.
Maybe their armor's made out of tambourines, and every time an enemy hits them, lets out a beautiful sound that
I
inspires your
guess.
ally. No, like that's
Yeah, I don't
something.
know. Yeah, I think it'll be cool though.
We can talk about
Right.
it more later.
All right. Well, we keep you on that cliffhanger. We're gonna talk to you guys later, and we're out of here. Is that good? Is that our outro?
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. Bye. Amazing. It's gonna be
I
a lot
almost
of
hit
editing.
disconnect.
Oh.